guys, it's Nicole. I'm back with another video, and today's video is going to be about a book. I have really enjoyed making all of these videos about all the different kinds of books that I read, and so today is going to be slightly different. So this book is actually a play. So for those of you who don't know, because I don't know if I talk about myself much on my channel, but I'm actually an actress. I have been acting in plays and even more recently in commercials and films since I was around 8 years old. It's something I've always loved to do. I really love theater and movies and TVs and everything like that. So it's something I've always been super passionate about, and I still do it to this day. I haven't done any theater work recently, but it's always something that I'm going to be doing. It's actually what I went to school for, and I really enjoy reading plays on my downtime because there's just something different about reading a play versus reading a book, and it's a really good thing to do, at least I think. I think that there's a lot of good that can come from reading all different kinds of material, and plays are written really different than books are written, because in books, you know, there's dialogue and then there's descriptions of the surroundings, all incorporated into the book, especially if you're reading fiction or fantasy or anything like that. But plays are different because it's completely dialogue. There's some little tidbits of stage directions, what the characters are doing on the stage, and there's usually at least a description, at least at some point, either in the beginning of the scene or somewhere in there, of the scenery, what it kind of looks like going into this particular scene. And I really like reading plays because there's just something that feels very real, you know, because when you're reading a book, if you're reading fiction, it's very clearly not real, you know. I think that there's a lot of authors that are really good at writing dialogue that feels very natural, it's actually happening in real time. But the thing about plays is that they're written to be happening in real time because they are, you know, when they're being performed. So I personally really like reading plays. I always just kind of look for, kind of similar to how I look for books that are not plays. I like looking at the title. I like looking at, you know, the back and kind of getting a little bit of an idea of what the play will be about. But I kind of sometimes just like to pick up plays even without looking at that and just read them, because sometimes I won't like them. There have been a couple of plays that I've read maybe last year that were okay. They were fine. I mean, I didn't hate them, but they didn't really do anything for me, so I don't know if I'll make a video about them. We'll see. I might, because I don't know what I'd have to say about it other than this play is probably fine, but it's not my thing. But there are some plays that I have read recently that I really like, and if any of you have ever been interested in reading plays, or maybe you do read plays like me and you just pick them up and go, I'm just gonna read this, because they're usually really short, then maybe you'll enjoy this video and you'll like what I have to say, because this video is actually about a play. So this is the book, or the play, that we're going to be talking about today. It's called What Every Woman Knows, and the author or playwright is actually someone of some notoriety here. So the author, playwright, is J.M. Barrie. J.M. Barrie is the playwright of Peter Pan. So he is the one that originated that entire story. And every person on the planet, I am sure, has heard of Peter Pan in some capacity. So J.M. Barrie is the one that wrote Peter Pan. And actually, if you're interested in J.M. Barrie's life, there's actually a musical. What's it called? It's Neverland or something. It's something like that. There's a musical. I'm blanking on it now, even though I love the musical. It's not coming to my brain. But there's a musical, and it's actually kind of about his life. It's kind of about how he came up with the characters of Peter Pan, and in the musical itself, it's oh, this person is the character is based off of them, you know. So it's a really good musical. I really like it personally. I swear, I will think of the name when it doesn't matter anymore, when I'm done recording, but I'm sure you can go find it. I know the word never is in the title. I know it is. Because there's also a movie about it. I think it's starring Johnny Depp and Freddie Highmore. And it's kind of similar. The movie and the musical have nothing to do with each other, but they are both about the man who came up with the story and the characters. And it's such a timeless story. It's honestly one of my favorite stories. Peter Pan was the very first play that I ever was in when I was 8 years old. And it's been kind of a soft spot for me my whole life. So that's another reason I picked up this play, because I knew who J.M. Barrie was, or James M. Barrie, because sometimes you hear like J.M. Barrie, because it's just the first letter of his name. I knew who James M. Barrie was because I knew he wrote Peter Pan, and that's always been something that I really loved. I loved Peter Pan as a kid so much. So that being said, this particular play has nothing to do with Peter Pan. I just thought it was an interesting little fact because I think most people know who that is or know who Peter Pan in the story. So I think it's really interesting. So obviously with most plays, most of the time when you pick them up in the book format, they don't really have anything on the cover. Mostly it's just the title because it's not a book, it's a play, it's different. So it's really mostly the title that you're going off of. So this one is called What Every Woman Knows. And there's something very intriguing about that title. You know what I mean? Because, so this obviously is written by a man, but you kind of have to wonder, okay, so what is it that every woman knows? What is it that this play says every woman knows? And I'm not going to give it away because that's a spoiler and I will talk about it a little bit later, but I'm not going to give it away right now. But I wanted to see what it was saying. I wanted to know what was going to be happening with this particular message. So I definitely wanted to pick it up and read it. So I'm going to read the back because that's what we do. So, best known as the author of Peter Pan, the immortal fantasy about a boy who refused to grow up, J.M. Barrie, in this play turned to a more adult theme, the unsung wife behind every successful man. A social satire set in England and Scotland during the early 20th century, What Every Woman Knows centers around plain, spinsterish Maggie Wiley and John Shand, an ambitious young student who promises to marry Maggie after 5 years if she agrees and if her family pays for his education. Years later, following his successful bid for a seat in Parliament, Shand keeps his word. But trouble lies ahead. Attractive women are drawn to the Scottish politician, and particularly the lovely Lady Sybil Tenterden. Moreover, Shand's speeches in Parliament, which had won him great popularity for their flashes of humor, begin to suffer when his wife no longer helps write them. Soon, both Shand's career and marriage are in jeopardy. So this was first produced in 1908, it says, so it's old, obviously. Peter Pan is also old, so in case you didn't know, very old things. But that's what this play is about, and I love that because there's a lot of like things out there, like different kinds of works, you know, plays, books, TV shows, movies out there where it's not necessarily about the woman behind the man, you know, as we're talking about in this context, but it is a clear thing that you can notice where it's like, oh, okay, so without her, he's not as good as we thought, you know, like she's not necessarily all of the brains behind the man, but certainly what really keeps people interested in him or what makes him so successful. So I definitely loved that concept. I was very much into that concept, and that's kind of exactly what this play is about. It's all of the characters are, you know, adults. There's no children in this play. It's just you know, like they mentioned on the back, John and Maggie, and then there's a few of their like friends and family that are all like their age or older. And it kind of goes through, like they said, you know, they make a deal. She ends up helping him with his speeches. And when she stops helping him with his speeches, things start to go downhill for him. So I love that concept. I love reading that kind of stuff because I think that's exactly what this means. I don't even think that's a spoiler because it kind of even says it on the back here. What every woman knows is that women are just really good at things. So yeah, if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, I really do highly recommend this play. I don't think it's the best play I've ever read. I don't think it's like my personal favorite, but I really did love reading it. I had such a good time, and that's really all it's about, right? When you're reading stuff, that's kind of what it's about. If you're enjoying it, it's a good work. So I definitely recommend it, especially if you've never read a play before. You know, I think that there's all different types of work, like writing work out there, that maybe that's not something you would be interested or I would be interested in. But it can be good to kind of go outside of your comfort zone and try something completely different. You know, I mean, that's how I discovered that I like reading murder mysteries lately. I never really read a lot of murder mysteries before. I mostly just read fantasy, but then recently, I don't know what it was, something just came to me. I decided to try reading an Agatha Christie book, and now I'm hooked. I love reading murder mysteries now. So you never know what you might like. I really think that this is a good play to start with, you know, because even though it was written like over 100 years ago, it still, you know, makes sense. You can still read it and understand it, and it's entertaining. So I do think it's a really good play to read, especially if you're starting out and you've never really read plays before. So yeah, I recommend giving it a try. But that's pretty much it for the non-spoiler part of the video. Sorry, it's getting really hot in here. Whew, I turned my fan off so that it wasn't making noise, but now it's hot. It's summer. Ugh. So now that's the non-spoiler part of the video, but I am going to go into spoilers a little bit because there's not really too many spoilers with this because the whole message already is said on the back of the play. But I am going to go into a little bit more detail of the play right now. So if you don't want that, you want to go in a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? You want to go into it without knowing too much more. Then now is the time to close the video. So thank you for watching if you're going to be leaving, but now we're going to go into a little bit of spoilers, just a little bit. It's a really short thing, as you can tell. It's a very short play because all plays are short, because trust me, when they're being performed, they do not feel short. That's just how it works. With the way, the speed you read and the speed at which it is performed is so different. But as the back of the book kind of talked about, the play really follows John Shand, and he's an ambitious politician and he needs an education, but he doesn't have the money. And so he is approached, kind of goes to Maggie and her family. Now, Maggie is, I want to say like around my age. And back then, if you weren't married at that age, you were considered a spinster. It's just how things were. And her family really wants to marry her off because that's just how things were back then. And, you know, at first, John is hesitant because he is a career man. He doesn't really have the interest in getting married. And, you know, the book doesn't describe Maggie. The book doesn't describe Maggie as like ugly or hideous or anything, but it describes her as kind of plain, you know, like not necessarily someone that all of the guys were after back then. And John just really had no interest in doing anything with her until she made him a deal, because she's really smart. I think it's also really interesting because it's never really clear how Maggie feels about like her necessarily projection in life. I think that she's really, really smart, and she knows that women's place back then was just get married and move out of your parents' house. Like that's what it was. And, you know, I think she saw the potential in John and came up with the deal that her family would pay for the education, and, you know, things would go well for him as long as he married her. And in doing so, he accidentally basically skyrocketed his political career because she, and I love it because it kind of goes into it a little bit, she very subtly, and he did not notice at all, would be in the room while he was writing his speeches, or she would be writing or typing them for him, and basically kind of jazz it up a little bit, make the speeches better, because he had the information that he needed for the speeches, but she knew exactly what to say to make them really, really good speeches. And she's really smart too. And of course, you know, it mentioned on the back that there were women that, you know, were described as very attractive, that were eager to catch John's attention. But it's very cool because not once does Maggie ever show any kind of insecurities about her marriage to John, because she knows how important she's made herself in his life. And it's never clear if she like loves him or is in love with him, because that's not what this play or marriage is about. This was a marriage of, I don't want to say convenience, but like this was basically a deal. This marriage was a deal for both of them because it worked out for both of them. And they got along because you kind of had to if you were going to be married to someone, because you had to live with them. But I loved it because she was never insecure, because she knew that as soon as she stopped helping him with his speeches and with any kind of advice or anything for his politician job, he would notice that his eloquency and favor towards everybody else would start to go away, because she was the reason that he was so successful. So she made herself really important in his life, and therefore kept up her place. And so she got to live her life in the big house because he became a big politician, and she got to keep doing what she wanted to do because she knew how to get around and get what she needed, if that makes sense. So I think this book is so much fun. It's especially fun for women, I think, personally, because I think that, you know, it's not an uncommon experience for women to be kind of dismissed and overlooked for anything, for their looks, for their intelligence, for their skill set. And this play is fun. It's definitely worth the read. And I find it interesting that it was written by a man, because the most intelligent character in the play is a woman. And I can't help but wonder, is that how he actually felt? Did the playwright, you know, did he think that about women? I mean, if we look at Peter Pan, you know, you can kind of see a little bit of similarities there, right? Because the play is not necessarily about Wendy, but Wendy is like she's like the only amazing thing that all of the boys want in the play. You know, she's the smart one, she's the maternal one, she's, you know, the one that everyone goes to. And kind of same in here. And so I kind of can't help but wonder, I'm like, is this, was the playwright a little bit more feminist than most men were back then? Or was this just stuff he was writing, stuff he was making up? I don't know, but I think it's an interesting question. And I like what this play makes me contemplate about that, because I think we have such a set idea of how people were in different ages, before now, ancestors and all the people that came before us. And I don't know, to me, the playwright and the way he wrote this play and Peter Pan kind of challenges that for me. I don't know for sure if he had any kind of actual respect and actual kind of feminism or anything, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. So if anyone has any ideas or insights into that, definitely comment below. I would love to know thoughts about this because I think it's very, very intriguing. So definitely comment below if you think of anything. But that's pretty much it. I can't recommend this enough. Like I said, may not be my absolute favorite play, but it's up there. I really enjoyed this, and I honestly, even if you're not a woman, even if you're not from this country or if we're from England or anything, I still think it's a fun read. I really, really do, because I think it stretches across cultures. So I highly recommend, but that is all for this week's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. There are so many big changes coming up in my life soon, and I can't wait to share them all with you. I just kind of need to get things more secure and guaranteed before I start going into things. And things are just super chaotic for me right now. But I can't wait to share more things and make more content. I love getting to come here every week and just talk about things that make me feel good and make me feel passionate. And I love that there's people out there that watch this too and enjoy it. So however you interact with my videos, believe me, I appreciate every single one of you. I cannot thank you all enough for supporting me and enjoying what I make, because that's just wild to me still. So again, thank you so much for watching. Definitely subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Please comment. I love seeing the comments. If I don't respond right away, it's just because I'm busy and I haven't looked at it yet, but I do eventually respond, I promise. And share this channel with anyone you might think will enjoy it. I have some different kinds of content that I make, and who knows, I'm just waiting for the right people to find my channel. So thank you all so much for watching and for being here and for interacting with my channel in any way that you do. And I will see you all next week.